So another day, another just weird situation, with Caitlin Clark and Indiana Fever and people around the organization. We obviously have seen the Scott Agnes article here, where he basically said that Caitlin Clark, that Caitlin Clark brings a dark side to the Fever, and her fans are like a negative on the team, and it's a struggle dealing with her fans. I'm like,
a good win by the Indiana Fever today versus the Seattle Storm, but I got a big concern with Caitlin Clark, man. So looks like the Fever been figuring things out, man. So let's just say Clark comes back toward the end of the season. Fever do their thing in the playoff. Let's just say, for the sake of my argument, the Fever win the championship, man. With Caitlin Clark having missed pretty much most of the regular season, would this championship not hold that much weight? Because I can already see the haters saying she missed most of the regular.
Just as Caitlin Clark turned the Indiana Fever into the biggest story in sports, a bizarre narrative has emerged from inside the organization itself, that her stardom comes with a quote-unquote dark side. Now, fueled by online speculation and insider reports, the unthinkable is being discussed. Could the Fever actually trade the Golden Goose? This isn't just a bad basketball move, it's a potential franchise meltdown fueled by jealousy and mismanagement, and the fallout would be immediate, catastrophic, and permanent.
he literally said, and he was like, there are some people that are not here for basketball, not here for the Fever, but are only here for Caitlin Clark. It's like, if you're a fan of a player and you're here for the basketball and you're there watching games and everything, you're a fan of a player playing basketball. I don't see there's an issue with that. And according to his thing, to him, he was talking about how it was such a struggle for the team, and obviously he's someone who has access to the team. And he mentioned that, the fans coming on saying fire stuff.
I was a little disappointed in Sophie's take is that, she's right. It's just that she did say, and I thought this was a better explanation. She was saying that when she played in Phoenix, that she was in the locker room, and so many of the players in the locker room were saying things like, oh, we're going to show Caitlin Clark what the W is really about, and would sort of go after her. And in some ways you can understand that because she was a rookie in the league. But ultimately, when you see all this vitriol of people who cannot stand her, it's like, okay, well, what has she done wrong? Yeah, she's a great basketball player. So
this whole firestorm of speculation ignited from a single controversial spark. A well-known reporter with close access to the team, Scott Agnes, published an article describing a dark side that follows Caitlin Clark, pointing to the immense pressure and online chaos her fan base brings. Suddenly, what was once unthinkable had a narrative. The internet took this idea and ran with it, painting a picture of an organization overwhelmed, unequipped, and maybe even resentful of the very person responsible for their meteoric rise. The whispers grew louder. Are the Fever actually tired of the Caitlin Clark business? But what they fail to understand is that without Caitlin Clark, there is no business. This was
a badass and a trash talker and gives it as good as she gets it. And she is an object of scorn for good reason. She's awesome. She's swaggery. She does turn your home crowd into a road crowd. She is a frustrating player to guard all of it. And if she is, for some of these teams, a bit of a villain, that's sweet. It only will make her better. She is already one of the 3 or 4 best players in the sport, as a lot of us thought she would be in short order.
Let's be brutally honest and talk about the money, because the numbers don't lie. Before Clark, the Indiana Fever were averaging around 4,000 fans per game, playing in a quiet arena with little national buzz. After she was drafted, they didn't just see a bump. They witnessed an economic explosion. They now sell out arenas, pulling in over 17,000 fans a night.
Indiana Fever posted this about Caitlin Clark to give the official what is going on with Caitlin's injury. So they said Caitlin Clark underwent further medical evaluations earlier this week, which confirmed that no additional injuries or damage was discovered. Clark will continue working with the medical team on her recovery and rehabilitation with the priority on her long-term health and well-being. There is no timetable available for her return. But I do think it's interesting that ESPN has listed August 12th as a possible return date for Caitlin Clark. But the internet noted noticed something specific that Holly Rowe had to say on the broadcast. Holly Rowe said that before the last return after a quad injury, she had no
They went from being virtually ignored to having the vast majority of their games nationally televised. The Caitlin Clark effect has seen WNBA merchandise sales surge by over 500%, and she's credited with helping quadruple the Fever's franchise value. One analysis even suggests she's responsible for a staggering 26.5% of all WNBA economic activity. Trading her wouldn't just be a bad basketball move. It would be financial malpractice of a staggering degree. It would be like a startup company firing the visionary CEO who just made them $1 billion powerhouse.
You know, she didn't play most of the games to get them to the playoffs, all of that. She won a championship and she was hurt most of the season, and the team was out there winning games without her. I can already see people saying that, man. So I'm just curious, man, because I'm thinking like, damn, you know, Clark has missed a lot of this time. You know, you played a regular season to get to the playoffs. Clark has missed, you know, most of the season so far. So if she won a title this year, having been injured most of this season, and then her first championship would be her being hurt most of the time, how would that championship rank for y'all? Would it not hold that much weight? Would it just be, you know, a win is a win, whatever?
This leads to the most delusional idea floating around the league, that the fans would somehow stick around. There seems to be a belief within some circles that this new audience is loyal to the Indiana Fever logo. That is a dangerous fantasy. These are not Fever fans, they are Caitlin Clark fans. This is a movement, a ride-or-die fan base that followed her from Iowa and will follow her to any city, any team, without a moment's hesitation. The proof is undeniable. When Clark is out with an injury, ticket prices on resale markets crater, dropping by as much as 71%. Viewership numbers for national broadcasts take a significant hit, with some reports showing a decline of over 50% when she is not playing. These fans aren't invested in a gritty rebuild. They are invested in the Clark cinematic universe. They're here for the main character, and if she leaves, the audience leaves with her.
Clear about this? If Caitlin Clark were not in the WNBA, we would not be talking about the WNBA. She is the only ticket draw in the WNBA. A large percentage of all tickets sold in the WNBA are so people can watch Caitlin Clark play basketball. No one cares about Angel Reese. She'd be drawing flies if she were playing not against Caitlin Clark on the court right now. Angel Reese has basically become the Bill Laimbeer to Caitlin Clark's Larry Bird, essentially.
Of course, there's the Onc Court argument, the quiet suggestion that maybe the team could build better, quote, chemistry without the media circus that surrounds Clark. We've seen analysts suggest the team is more dangerous without her, pointing to wins during her injury absences. This is perhaps the most absurd narrative of them all. While players have certainly stepped up, the idea of addition by subtraction is pure fantasy. As WNBA legend Candace Parker stated unequivocally, they're not better without Caitlin. The stats back this up. The Fever have a better winning percentage and a significantly higher scoring margin when Clark is on the floor. The constant physical targeting she endures from opponents isn't a sign of her being a disruptive force. It's a sign that they know she is the one player who can single-handedly take over a game. The, quote, circus they speak of is the price of relevance, a price the Fever couldn't afford to pay before she arrived.
That she's the face of the league, and that's understandable because there have been fantastic players in the WNBA for a long time. But Caitlin didn't disparage them. She just came in and kind of changed the game with her style. So I think it's one of those things where you have to say, okay, maybe I don't think it's fair based on the previous women who have been in this league, but it's not Caitlin's fault. All she's done is elevate the game for all of us. And I think instead of being pissed off about that, you should be appreciative of that and say, maybe it's not fair, but it's not your fault.
But the on-court issues go deeper than just opposing teams. Rumors have swirled about jealousy within the league, with veteran players reportedly resentful of the attention a rookie is receiving. We've heard stories of players in other locker rooms vowing to show her what the W is really about, not out of competitive spirit, but out of professional envy. This puts the Fever in a precarious position. Do they manage their locker room by placating these internal politics, or do they protect the generational talent that resurrected their franchise from obscurity? Sacrificing your biggest star to appease a handful of disgruntled players isn't leadership. It's mismanagement. It's choosing short-term locker room harmony over long-term franchise survival. True competitors should want the best player on their team, not resent her for bringing the spotlight they all claim to want.
Fever Sky tickets dropped 71% on TickPick after Caitlin Clark injury. The get-in price for the Chicago Sky versus Caitlin Clark's Indiana Fever game was $86. After Caitlin Clark's injury announcement is now down to $25. And you Angel Reese fangirls will still believe and think that Angel Reese is the reason why people are watching the WNBA. Since y'all want to make it about race, this white girl over here is the reason why fans are tuning in to watch the WNBA, not because of this.
Ironically, the very thing that fuels the on-court drama, the perception of Clark as a, quote, villain by her rivals, is fantastic for business. She isn't just a great player, she's a compelling character. She talks trash, she's swaggy, and she gives as good as she gets. This turns every game into a must-see event. People tune in to see her either dominate or get dominated. The rivalry with players like Angel Reese isn't a negative, it's a storyline that writes itself, drawing comparisons to the iconic Bird vs. Magic rivalry that revitalized the NBA. Every great hero needs a foil, and the league has unofficially cast her in a role that creates drama, boosts ratings, and sells tickets. Trading her away would be like ending a hit TV show after one season because the main character was too interesting.
One thing that I love that she's bringing to her sport, more people want to watch. More people want to tune in. Don't get it twisted. Don't get up. Caitlin Clark is the reason why a lot of great things is going to happen for the WNBA. But for her individually, I don't think she should get involved on nothing that's being said. Just go have fun, enjoy, but I'm rooting for Caitlin because I've been in that seat before. I've walked that road before. I hope she kills. I hope Aaliyah Boston does amazing.
Imagine for a moment what a trade would actually create. It would split the WNBA into two starkly different realities. For the Indiana Fever, the spotlight would switch off instantly. The sold-out crowds would vanish, replaced by the echoes of a few thousand loyalists in a cavernous arena. Their national TV schedule would evaporate, and they would become a permanent fixture on the league's streaming app, a cautionary tale of a franchise that fumbled gold and was left with dust.
Some people say that Caitlin Clark moves the needle. That is wrong. She is the needle. She dictates. We all know what she's done on the floor. It's history, right? But off the floor, my goodness, she and the Indiana Fever accounted for 45% of all the broadcast value of the WNBA last season. She accounted also for helping drive the numbers of merchandising up 500%. Of course, her jersey was #1. And most importantly, I think people look at this and think she said no. That's not the case. She said she wants her first competition to be an Indy at WNBA All-Star.
Meanwhile, whatever team landed Caitlin Clark would become the new center of the basketball universe. Overnight, a last-place team in a small market would become America's team. Their ticket sales would explode, their merchandise would sell out globally, their franchise valuation would skyrocket. They wouldn't just be acquiring a player, they would be acquiring an entire economic and cultural engine, a one-woman stimulus package for an entire organization. The Fever wouldn't just be watching from the sidelines, they'd be watching from a forgotten corner of the league they once briefly dominated. This is because Caitlin Clark has transcended the role of an athlete. She is a walking, breathing media empire. Every logo three, every slick pass, every bit of on-court trash talk is clipped, analyzed, and debated across every sports show and social media platform imaginable. The WNBA is seeing its highest viewership in decades, nearly tripling its average from last season, with Clark's games being the main driver. She is reportedly responsible for a staggering 45% of the WNBA's total broadcast value. Her presence forces networks to pay attention, sponsors to invest, and casual observers to become devoted fans. She generates a level of constant viral buzz that no marketing team could ever hope to replicate. You don't trade that. You don't trade the person who single-handedly made your league a daily topic of national conversation. Let's put this in historical context. Has a sports franchise ever willingly traded away an athlete who, by themselves, represented the league's entire growth strategy? The Chicago Bulls didn't trade Michael Jordan as he was becoming a global icon. The Lakers didn't offload Magic Johnson in the middle of Showtime. The NHL didn't see the Oilers trade a young Wayne Gretzky until years after he had already delivered multiple championships. Trading Caitlin Clark, now, at the absolute peak of her arrival and influence, would be an act of self-sabotage with no precedent in modern sports history. It's a move reserved for a franchise so profoundly dysfunctional that it can't see the gold mine it's standing on, choosing instead to complain about the glare. In the end, the message is devastatingly simple. Trading Caitlin Clark wouldn't be a gamble, it would be a guaranteed loss of catastrophic proportions. It's a move that would signal a complete surrender of ambition, relevance, and financial sanity. It has been said that Caitlin Clark moves the needle. That statement is wrong. She is the needle. She dictates the ratings, the attendance, the coverage, and the entire conversation around the sport. You do not trade the sun and expect the planets to stay in orbit. You trade Caitlin Clark and your entire world goes dark.